Who would have thought last December, when the then Washington Redskins hosted the New York Football Giants, that would be the last time that Redskins name would be used? A brand new naming system for this franchise. There is a lot of social injustice with the Black Lives Matter and things of that nature. There are no fans in the stadium for the first time ever in a football season. It's going to be a wild ride, and we'll bring it all to you on Sideline Report. It starts right now.
Welcome to the Sideline Report, everyone, for another great season. A lot of things happen, though, in the off season. It looks like it's going to be a new normal in the NFL. You saw Lou Holder earlier, and now let's go to Donna, as she was there for the new normal also at FedEx Field.
Well, as you can see, this is the new norm when most people today will be wearing face masks as the NFL kicks off the season and your Washington football team will be taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. And in the stadium today, it's no fans. It was kind of crazy when I was driving to the game today because the parking lots were empty, no tailgaters, but that is the norm right now in order for us to have our NFL football season.
All right, Donna was there, Lou Holder was there, and Lake Lewis was there. And they are here with us on the Sideline Report tonight. Thanks for joining us, everybody. It's going to be an interesting season in the NFL. You've got a new name in Washington, the Washington football team. And Lou's kind of started off for us and talk a little bit about what happened on Sunday as Washington came back and won over the Eagles.
My thoughts were not so much about the game, was about the atmosphere, checking in as a media member to that stadium for the first time with no fans, having to do reports in the concourse level, having to do Zoom conference calls after the game. It was bizarre. I mean, we just, Lake and Donna and myself and so many were just looking at one another like, this is unbelievable. No Philly media was there. The people that we usually see when the Philadelphia franchise comes down to Washington, we didn't see any of them. Sal Palantonio was the only person that I recognized. Everybody else, they have to stay at home. They had a great moving tribute for Black Lives Matter that no one saw except the people that were in the stadium. That was the media members and the staff that was there. But it was just bizarre. The whole team, the Philadelphia Eagles didn't even come out for the national anthem. I don't know how much the television showed, but we saw a moving tribute where both teams came out in the middle of the field, had a circle, and then the video sung by Alicia Keys for Lift Every Voice and Sing played, and then afterwards scrolled all the names of all the Black lives that mattered that were murdered recently, went on the screen, and it was just such a powerful and moving tribute. And then, we're usually there and we see all the pyrotechnics and all the stuff for introduction. They came out to absolutely no one, no one cheering. It was just bizarre. When they kicked off, we were just like, this is the new norm. The new norm. So throughout the game, obviously, there were more things that made you think that, wow, this is new, things in the press box. But that's the one thing I took away was the pregame. Just talking to Lake and Donna and just being there with all the media members, knowing that, wow, we may never go back to the way it was. We may never go back to the way it was. Afterwards, the press conferences, we stayed in the press room and they had a Zoom meetings just like this one for all the athletes that came to the podium, from the Coach Rivera to Dwayne Haskins to all the people that we would want to talk to face and put cameras and microphones in their face, it was all done on Zoom. It was just really, really interesting, Marvin.
Donna, you've been covering the Washington football team for quite a while. Talk about what did you see different about this team playing in that game?
Yeah, the great thing about this is that they had football. It was a big question mark if the NFL season was even going to take off. Now, this Washington football team, and I have to keep saying that so I won't slip up. But the great thing about this is that you saw a new regime of coaching, which is a fresh breath of air. You saw a team being disciplined. It's a young team also. But you saw a team that possibly in years past, in the last 2 or 3 or 4 years, this team would not have come back and won that game. But this team was down by 17 points, and they rallied. They never got out of the game to thinking that they weren't going to win. I like what Coach Rivera said, that they did not have a play for a 17-point deficit, but he told the coaching staff and the players, one play at a time. That's leadership, and not only that, that's a veteran coach. You got a Scott Turner that has come in here who Ron Rivera also said that he was reaching a little bit, pressing, but he said that all of them really as coaching was doing that when he had a kind of like a quick conversation with Scott Turner, and this team settled down. Everybody needed to shake off the rust because with no preseason games taking place, you never knew what was going to happen when teams came out. But the fact that this Washington football team showed what they showed, it's some positive things moving forward. But I want people to know it was one game, but it was one impressive game, because some of my friends were saying, Super Bowl. I said, please do not say that.
We actually have a soundbite from Ron Rivera, Coach Rivera.
I just think that there's a group of young men that had to deal with some things the last few years. If you go back to a lot of these guys when they first got drafted here and have had their struggles. I mean, it's been tough, and the last few years have been tough. Believe me, I went through it in Carolina. I mean, those guys went through a tough time. Well, these guys have gone through a tough time. But when you start seeing some of the things that happen, like on the sideline, I didn't see anybody bickering. I didn't see anybody pointing fingers. I didn't see anybody getting after each other for no reason at all. So that kind of led me to believe, okay, they got it. They're understanding. And the nice thing is I started hearing them asking questions about, hey, how can we do this? Why is this going on? What can we change? Instead of looking for somebody to blame. So I saw a little maturity on the sideline, which really pleased me.
Interesting comments from Coach Rivera. Lake Lewis, you are out there quite often. What did you think about those comments from him?
I mean, those are comments of a leader, of a person that truly understands how to motivate young men. And, let's call it like it is, guys. If this was last year, if this was the year before, even if there were fans in that stadium, if that team fell behind 17-0, I'm not sure we're sitting here today talking about a comeback, because it would have been a lot of internal pressure and just a lot of side stories and things going on. But the fact that there was an empty stadium, I think it kept these guys from falling apart and still listening to their coach. And, they turned to Ron Rivera, Scott Turner, and Jack Del Rio, and they see now what they have. They've got some coaches. They've got some coaches that made adjustments at halftime and kept them in the game and gave them chances to make plays, which they did. And there's a quiet confidence about the Washington football team that we haven't seen in a long time. We'll see how they play that out Sunday, obviously, against the Cardinals. That's going to be another big milestone and stepping stone if they can get the job done.
All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and talk more about the Washington football team, the Ravens, and the whole NFL. Don't go away.